He's a long-serving faculty member at New Mexico State University. I can't remember when he came here because I wasn't here. But he came here some years ago as a department head in management. He's a professor in the Department of Management. He holds one of the chairs in the College of Business right now. He's probably not the only one of our faculty members who has an international reputation. We have others who have it. But David Boje has a special place in his discipline internationally. And it happens to be, as I recall, it's called more like storytelling, kind of storytelling aspects of management. I had no clue what that meant, and was fearful of asking David what it meant for fear he would tell me what it meant. and one day I went to a conference up in Santa Fe, as a matter of fact, and they used the technique up there. And I saw it at work and became somewhat of a fan of using that technique in a management discipline. So David is one of our Daniels Fellows. He spent some time in Denver around the foundation, talking to people, I think, who knew Bill Daniels. And so we invited him as part of his project to talk to you about the life and times of Bill Daniels. Would you welcome Dr. David Boje?
Thank you for that introduction. It's a real pleasure to talk to you today. And Grace Ann Roselle, my wife, wouldn't take my last name, by the way. I would have taken your last name. We did these interviews together. We did 12 interviews in Denver. The Daniels Fund was really hospitable with us. Our obligation was to produce the interviews, get the storytelling, produce the transcripts, and then have approval from everybody that we interviewed that we could use the stories. I only got approval for a couple of the stories. From Linda Childer did that last night, read through the manuscript and gave her tentative approval, except for one thing which I won't mention. All right. So I'm just going to go right into it, and hopefully the questions you come up with will get to the theory part later. So let me just dive right in, if that's okay. Let me start with a little bit of storytelling. The last interview we did, we were flown out to Houston. We interviewed somebody named Mary Lee Northrup. And this was maybe, of all the interviews, one of the more fantastic of them all. She was born a month before Bill Daniels, June 2nd, 1920. Greeley, Colorado. She knew Bill Daniels his entire life. They corresponded together. If I got the transcript right, they were baptized together in 1925. But Mary says the Davis side of the family was not put into this book called Relentless. And many of the people I talked to in the Daniels Foundation said they could never finish reading the book, that they didn't feel it really captured the character of Bill Daniels. And so what we wanted to do a lot in our research, and the stories I want to tell you today have to do with that other side. So hopefully that'll come off. Now, one of the things that was really fun about it is in their passing notes back and forth for some 80 years, they referred to each other as Hansel and Gretel. And he would sign his, Hansel, Dear Gretel. And it turned out that they kind of skipped school a couple of times. And she went off to get the leading role in the Hansel and Gretel play. And, it was a time when they were really having fun in life. It was during the Depression. And Bill Daniels' father was a traveling salesman, wasn't home a lot. These were hard times. And he spent a lot of time with the Davis family. And I really wanted to understand, where did he get these ethics in the first place? How did they come to him, And it turned out a lot of it, we think, in retrospect, comes from, we think, the Davis side of the family. Certainly from his mother. I mean, it's always said that Adele, his mother, provided a lot of the inspiration for what followed. But if you look at the Davis side of the family, there were 4 sisters, 5 daughters. All the 5 daughters went to college. The father, Leo Wilson, was, we think, very much a role model, a fatherly role model for Bill Daniels. He told Bill, "I never had a drink in my life." I think this stuck with Bill. He told Bill that when he worked for the newspaper, we're talking about Leo Wilson, he quit the newspaper when William Hearst took it over. He said, "I could no longer tell the truth. I refused to work there anymore." I think it was that kind of example that sort of set the stage for Bill Daniels. So let me run through a little chronology very quickly, just a few minutes. Then I want to just do a little bit of storytelling from the interviews, and we'll see what you make of it. So he was born July 1st in Greeley, Colorado. Age 8, he's selling bittersweet berries door to door to raise money for him and the family during the Depression. Age 17, he moves to Hobbs, New Mexico with the family. That's where he enters the New Mexico Military Institute in Roswell. And as Linda has said already, that experience really brought him a lot of discipline. That was where it kind of curbed some of his childhood acting out, and he got some real value out of that. 1941, age 24, he joins the U.S. Navy and becomes a fighter pilot, World War II in Korea. Age 32, I'm giving you the ages so you can sort of see the spectrum, of somebody. Age 32, and this is 1952, he's in Casper, as Linda has said. He's in the insurance business his dad had started. He starts working with his brother Jack, and they don't see eye to eye. So Bill moves on and starts his own insurance business, but it's at that time that he spots TV. And he notices that in Casper, they don't have good TV stations. So he develops the microwave idea of the technology that can bring television from Denver to Casper. So it's very innovative. Age 36, he's elected the 2nd chair of the National Cable Television Association. Age 38, in 1958, he settles in Denver, creates Daniels and Associates. Age 44, that's where he first meets John Seaman. John Seaman becomes an employee, a business partner, a CEO, and is still on the board of directors of the Daniels Fund. And in some of his stories I have permission to tell you today. They're handling cable sales at that time of $100 million. It represents about 80% of the industry. Age 49, he hires a secretary named June Travis, and that's the 3rd person I'm going to talk about today. And by that time, it's 1969. They're diversifying cable to include a lot of sports programming at that time. Number 3 is Linda, who I mentioned a little bit before. She comes in this when Bill is 67 years old. It's 1987, and he establishes the Young American Banks to educate children in financial literacy. Age 68, he's not done. He presents $11 million matching grant to the University of Denver that we heard about. Age 69, he launches Prime Network to produce a market regional sports program. Age 74, he sells Prime Network, Prime Ticket Network, and shares millions of dollars with his employees, and nobody can figure out just what makes a man do that.